Learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about what is white-collar crime. Learn the different fields where they are involved and analyze the laws to India. In this module, we are studying about the white-collar crimes, and in the next module, we will study about the blue-collar crimes. Now, let us start with the introduction of white-collar crimes. A criminologist and sociologist, Edwin H. Sutherland, in the year 1939 introduced and popularized the term white-collar crimes, and according to him, it was a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of their occupation. It could be explained as a financially motivated non-violent crime committed by business and government professionals or officials. Almost a century ago, a question was asked, why was India poor and backward, notwithstanding its immense natural and human resources, to the grand old man of India, that is Dadabhai Naoroji. He searched after devoting his valuable time, energy and restless efforts to look into government publications and archival materials both in India and Britain. The answer he found was that India was poor not because of its people were lazy, but owing to the fact that a large part of what they were producing was being drained away by the foreign rulers through an intricate mechanism and was thus not available either for consumption or capital accumulation in India. Thus, crime of robbery was being regularly committed by the foreign rulers against the people of India under the roof of law. In today's scenario, it has taken a wider role in every area of business, such as the Commonwealth Games, cricket, Colgate and Wappam, etc. Motive of the people involved in such types of crime is only one thing, that is the money. These professionals are protected by loopholes present in the judiciary and getting support from the government indirectly. The only question is why the government is hostile in such cases, because theft is theft either of 1 rupee or uncountable money. Now we will study what actually are white-collar crimes. Within criminology, it was first defined by sociologist Edwin Sutherland in the year 1939 as a crime committed by a person of respectability and high social status in the course of his occupation. The various types of white-collar crimes include cyber crimes, forgery, copyright infringement, insider trading, money laundering, etc. Now, the white-collar crimes in legal profession. With the increasing commercial relationship among the corporates, the insurance and the banking agencies, the nature of the capitalist economy started becoming complex with time. Thus, the ever-growing complexities paved way for the typical legal convolutions related to property rights and other matters pertaining to the legal field, and gave birth to a new class of professionals of advocates who, in the name of providing justice, started abetting in the wrong and thereby pursued their own narrow interest. These group of advocates forgot the holy oath of serving the society and started searching for the legal loopholes and focused mainly on helping the rich entrepreneurs to grow richer. Hence, extensive studies were carried out by these persons just to save themselves and the other rich corporate professionals from tax evasion. Therefore, only the illegal means involved in tax evasion gets sorted out. There are very frequent instances of unscrupulous and unethical practices like that of fabricating false evidence, engaging professional witnesses, and thereby violating the ethical standards of legal profession, and dilatory tactics in collusion with the ministerial staff of the courts. Now we will study about the white collar crimes in the field of engineering. Today, engineers are also involved in white collar crimes. We often find cases of illegal dealings with suppliers, contractors, the passing of substandard works and maintenance of bogus reports of the labor works. They financially earn more for their low grade from the contractors and then they can earn for the genuine work. Therefore, many of them, out of the greed of earning more and more money, play dangerously with thousands of lives of the individuals. The best example of this type of crime is the collapsing of the foot-over bridge, that is 12 days before the opening of the Commonwealth Games in 2010. Now, white-collar crimes in the medical field. In India, the white-collar crimes are so widespread that it does not confine itself in the legal areas only. Similar unfortunate instances can be drawn from other professions too, and like that of the medical practitioners, the engineers, the educationists, businessmen, politicians, and the list goes on. In the medical field, the doctors are very often involved in the issuance of false certificates, selling out samples of medicines and drugs and even adulterated drugs, and carrying out illegitimate abortions. Dilatory tactics are often adopted by them in providing treatment to their patients with a menswear to extract huge amount of money, no matter the person has good practice. In the very famous Nithari case, the peak level of brutal character was shown by the medical professionals who proved that how much they can reach just for making money. Misleading and fake advertisements claiming absolute care is also one of the frequent malpractices being carried out in the medical profession. The problem lies in the fact that they often escape punishment since they cannot be said to have violated the letter of law, but by violating the spirit of law, they commit crimes which are truly antisocial and creates enormous damage to the public health and safety at large. The NRHM scam in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh is well known to all the Indian citizens, in which the top politicians and bureaucrats are alleged to have siphoned off a massive scam estimated at 100 billion, that is 1.6 billion US dollars, for the National Rural Health Mission, a central government program meant to improve the healthcare delivery in rural areas. Next comes the white-collar crime in the field of education. The matter comes to the white-collar crimes. Educational institutions do come in the league to operate with impunity. A nastier role is played by the private institutions that are at least bothered in providing the education, but only concentrate of making business at the cost of the children's future. Even rackets operate in these institutions for procuring the students to appear in the examination just on the basis of manipulated eligibility certificates, thereby damaging the standard of education in India. When it comes to the governmental institutions, the teachers and the staffs of the institutions are often found to be involved in unscrupulous practices, since they can hardly make fortune from the inadequate salary they receive from the government. Teachers often drag the students for taking private tuitions and even go to the extent of blackmailing them for ruining their future if they deny doing so. Next, the white-collar crimes in the corporate field. According to research, it was observed that only a handful instances of white-collar crimes are expected in day-to-day life by a certain number of people in the course of their profession. The major role in committing the white-collar crimes are played by the business tycoons and politicians whose greed and wants are never satisfied from what they earn. By the time it increases in more and more. This hunger greed forwards them to do the nasty thing which comes under the focus of media, and in the major scandals during the thorough investigation, the unlawful involvement of political parties are highlighted. So far as the businessmen are concerned, their acts of white-collar crimes go beyond the code. They are termed as the corporate criminals, who more often than not are involved in the illegal contracts, combination and conspiracies of trade restraints, unfair labor practices, selling of the adulterated foods and drugs, bribing of the public officials, and so on and so forth. They take advantage of the corporate wheel and indulge in a number of crimes. Last but not the least, the white-collar crimes, which are universal. Masterminds, or when the work is totally planned and carried out in such a manner that nobody can point the finger, it means it is highly technological and advanced frauds which can be later found out as big scams. These scams evoke serious concerns and impact to the national security and governance. Violation of the foreign exchange regulations and import and export laws are frequently resorted for the sake of huge profits. Now we will study about the white-collar frauds or crimes in Indian scenario at the world level. 2010 to 2011, the annual Global Fraud Survey report of Kroll conducted by Economist Intelligence Unit gives the expected results. Fraud continues to be a big problem worldwide and more so in India. Of the companies surveyed globally, 75% reported experiencing fraud during the year. Though the figure has reduced in comparison to the previous year's 88%, the situation is still dismal. In India, the situation is disastrous, with 84% organizations reporting that they suffered from fraud during the year. It is a wake-up call for India, as it is ranked second worldwide after Africa and shares the position with China. Next comes the loss to India just because of the white-collar crimes. And finally, in the last, what happens due to the white-collar crimes? It is the only loss. The estimated figure given in the report is that the globally organizations suffered is 2.1% loss due to fraud. But for India, the percentage is higher. It is 2.4%. According to the report, further analysis says that 18% of the companies reported an earning of loss more than 4%. All of these companies are reporting corruption, bribery, money laundering, and regulatory breaches frequently. This is all due to the lack of fraud prevention and investigation measures. Mostly Indian companies are working on an old pattern and are ill prepared to fight the fraud and corruption. That's why they need to train and focus on fraud investigation measures and appoint the fraud investigating agencies or the forensic investigators in their companies or as a part of the risk management team. Several corruptions in India has been reported during the last 10 years. The 2G telecom scam, Adarsh Society scam, Commonwealth Games fraud, Vyapam scam, NHRM scam, and various land scams has ruined the Indian reputation within India and abroad. It means that India getting a negative impact worldwide, that everything is possible by money, through the money, and watch the game. These years are the black days for India and record in the history. Huge investments are planned to improve the infrastructure, but the greed of the persons are never satisfied. The government and the private sector post-independence never had it so good. With liberalization, foreign investment flows increased. The sudden spurt in economy also resulted in higher greed and corruption soared. The cases showed how the senior level politicians and the business heads who were much revered and respected compromised their ethics. As per the report, 78% of the Indian organizations have stated that they are highly or moderately vulnerable to corruption. Next, we will study about the misconceptions about white-collar crimes. Psychology today has made a short column on 4 major myths that are widely when it comes to white-collar crimes, usually described as an illegal act committed for the financial gain. Since the white-collar crimes are usually characterized as the non-violent type of crimes, many are prone to this myth. But criminals in general have a sense of entitlement and need for control. You may be thinking of famous Ponzi schemers like Bernie Madoff or Alan Stanford here, but white-collared criminals also depend on poorly paid underlings. The white-collar criminals are otherwise upstanding citizens. About 40% of the white-collar criminals have a record. There are poorly paid white-collar criminals also, but the mastermind of the crime could be very rich. Researchers say that peer pressure, company culture, and pure hubris cause people to commit the white-collar crimes. Now, I will summarize all that we have studied in this module. White-collar crimes is now a worldwide phenomena. This is because the white-collar crimes are symbiotically connected with capitalism, which may have some elements of socialism, and with it can go by some other name also. Before the rise of the capitalism as a dominant socio-economic formation, such crimes seen are very seldom. With capitalism becoming a global system, these crimes have proliferated and their ramifications have assumed the international proportions. Everything in the society, be it media, education, religion, politics, bureaucracy, and so on, is sought to be used by the capitalist for earning maximum profits. In this process, criminality enters into all of them. Scientific and technological revolution, especially in the field of information and education, has made them more sophisticated and intricate and reduced the capacity of any state to detect them and catch the perpetrators. The electronic money has put central banks in a quandary. They cannot stop money laundering and the transfer of money from one part of the globe to other as undetected. With economic liberalization and globalization aided by the revolutionary changes in the sphere of information technology, the incidence of white-collar criminality is bound to increase both in the extent and the intensity. Comptroller Auditor General is showing the way forward. The need of the hour is for our politicians' parties to have the spirit to clean up the mess. The private sector must implement fraud prevention measures and focus on the ethics so as to reduce the frauds. Both the sectors have to collaborate so as to minimize the fraud risks in India.